Hello, welcome to the 225 Literary and Jury Charge. I'm going to start out with a segment from Don't Sweat the Small Stuff, and this is called Do Something Nice for Someone Else and Don't Tell Anyone About It. Okay, ready? While many of us frequently do nice things for others, we are almost certain to mention our acts of kindness to someone else, secretly seeking their approval. When we share our own niceness or generosity with someone else, it makes us feel like we are thoughtful people. It reminds us of how nice we are and how deserving we are of kindness. While all acts of kindness are inherently wonderful, there is something even more magical about doing something thoughtful but mentioning it to no one ever. You always feel good when you give to others. Rather than diluting the positive feelings by telling others about your own kindness, by keeping it to yourself, you get to retain all the positive feelings. It's really true that no one should give for the sake of giving, not to receive something in return. This is precisely what you are doing when you don't mention your kindness to others. Your rewards are the warm feelings that come from the act of giving. The next time you do something really nice for someone else, keep it to yourself and revel in the abundant joy of giving. Okay, got some jury charge for you. This subject is insurance. Ready? Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, the plaintiff filed this action in the district court of this county and alleged that on the 18th day of June 2006, the defendant, in consideration of the annual premium set forth therein, delivered its policy of life insurance to Aaron M. Davis, deceased, that the face of the policy was $600,000 with a provision, however, that in the event of death from an accident, the defendant agreed to increase the amount payable to $1 million. That on the 5th day of January 2008, said deceased Aaron M. Davis died by reason of an accident, that the plaintiff furnished the defendant with proof of death, affidavits, certificates, and statements of parties having knowledge of information concerning the same, and made demand upon the company for the payment of the total sum of $1 million. That on or about the 15th day of March 2008, the defendant paid the plaintiff $600,000 by reason of the execution of the policy, with the understanding, however, that said payment would not preclude the plaintiff from prosecuting a claim against the defendant for the sum of $600,000. That the defendant refused to make further payments, and plaintiff praised judgment for $600,000 payment, of which she claims is due under the terms of the policy. The defendant answered and denied generally the allegations of the petition and admitted that it was engaged in the life insurance business in the state of Alabama and issued the policy of life insurance on the 18th day of June 2006 to the plaintiff herein, and admits that proof of death and other data in the form of affidavits, certificates, and statements were furnished by the plaintiff to the defendant, but alleges that said statements are insufficient to establish that the deceased died as a result of an accident, and denies that the plaintiff is entitled to recover any amount and asks judgment for its costs. Okay. I've got some medical here, and this is on wide range of effects of walking. All right, here we go. Ready? The benefits of walking go beyond raising the HDL. Physically inactive people are about twice as likely to develop hypertension as are active ones, but low-intensity exercise can lower blood pressure. Regular walking can also help control weight. A daily walk of about 2 miles without a change in diet can lead to a 15 to 20 pound weight loss over the course of a year. Of course, walkers are more likely to shed pounds if they can also eat a low-calorie, low-fat diet, and this combination will help ensure that pounds of fat rather than of muscle are lost. Because exercise wards off obesity, walking can help reduce the risk for non-insulin dependent diabetes, the form that most commonly develops in adults. Those who already have diabetes can help control it by walking, since regular activity promotes more efficient use of sugar by the muscles. Furthermore, exercise decreases the severity of conditions such as hypertension and lipid disorders. which are often found in diabetes and contribute to their risk for atherosclerosis. Walking and other forms of regular exercise are excellent ways to control psychological stress as well. According to some reports, 40 minutes of walking can lead or reduce anxiety and tension for at least 2 other hours. These findings are consistent with other studies showing that physically active people tend to have better self-esteem and are less likely to be depressed than those who are sedentary. Furthermore, walking and other exercise that affects the weight-bearing joints tends to blunt the usual age-related loss of bone mass in older individuals and therefore probably decrease the risk of osteoporosis and hip fractures. How safe? For the elderly and people with heart disease, even an activity as mild as walking may seem potentially dangerous. However, walking can be the perfect exercise for people with medical problems because individuals can set their own pace. Even the slowest walkers can help control their weight simply by walking longer. Coronary artery disease does not necessarily prevent participation in a walking program. Regular exercise helps patients with angina or heart failure increase the level of physical activity they can perform safely. Data from 22 studies of cardiac rehabilitation programs indicate that exercise can lower mortality after a heart attack by about 20%. Of course, patients with cardiovascular conditions should consult with their physician prior to starting any exercise program, even leisurely walking. If symptoms such as chest pressure, lightheadedness, or shortness of breath develop during walking, the person should stop to rest and promptly inform his doctor. An exercise prescription. To be the most effective, an exercise program must become part of a person's life because such activities should be maintained indefinitely. Much of the appeal of walking is its convenience. Just by consistently choosing to walk to a friend's house instead of driving, an individual can control the weight, lower the chance of heart attack, and take time to enjoy the day. For many, the first step in an exercise program is the decision to leave the garage or leave the car in the garage as often as possible. For some people, a walk is more pleasant if 1 or 2 friends come along. Since low-intensity aerobic exercise can also reduce stress, combining a walk and talk will improve physical and mental health at the same time. Many physicians advise patients to choose a pace that allows them to carry on a conversation. Therefore, talking while walking will guard against overexertion. Shortness of breath is a signal to slow down, enjoy the experience, and find a pace and style that will encourage more walking. As with any type of exercise, a walking program should be started with a low level of activity and gradually be built up. Most people can reach a reasonable goal within a month or 2. For example, 2 miles a day, 5 days a week. The faster the pace, the more calories are burned. Although the number of calories extended in walking depends on the distance covered. Therefore, one should pick a pace that can be sustained for long periods of time. Stepping it up. Although walking a couple of miles a day will offer important health benefits, more vigorous activity is required to improve physical conditioning and may further lower cardiovascular risk if it can be sustained over a long period of time. For example, the University of Pittsburgh's Healthy Women Study recently reported that women who were inactive when they enrolled in the study or who decreased their physical activity over a 3-year follow-up period were most likely to gain weight. As part of the natural aging process, HDL levels also tended to decrease in less active women. But in those who increased their weekly activity level by at least 300 kilocalories, equivalent to walking for 20 minutes 3 times a week, the HDL remained essentially unchanged. Thus, exercise prevented the anticipated fall in HDL. Although the investigators gave this study the provocative title, "Can Physical Activity Mitigate the Effects of Aging in the Middle-Aged Women?" they were not suggesting that walking can turn back the clock. However, perhaps regular physical activity can make the clock go more slowly. For many who wish to embark on a new exercise program, a walking regimen that will reduce cardiovascular risk may be the best way to start. And once they are walking a couple of miles a day, they may even stop to smell the roses. Okay. We'll go back to jury charge. Here we go. Ready? So we have a first settlement in January of 2015. That was the $500,000 or the $550,000, I believe. It was something like that. So that was actually settled and paid off in January, okay? Well, it was agreed to settle, all right? A portion of it was paid for, interest at 4.5%, and the receipt of the respondent shows that was fully paid off in December. And I have all of the figures if the court is concerned, but I think the court is touching upon an important area here, and that where I disagree with the court would be on the burden of going forward with the issue that the court is discussing, which is the notice and the opportunity to participate in the settlement agreement, and perhaps even the defense of these class actions and the case that came out of the Bank of America. We feel that as important as the court may feel that it is, that no other material went out other than the letter. We think it is important that that letter was not responded to, and the evidence will show that. The evidence will show through Mr. Reamer and Mr. Nunn that no attempt was made by Mrs. Nunn or by any of her attorneys to inquire, to contact, to attempt to review the file, as far as we know, the evidence will show no contact was made with the attorneys for any of the other parties in this particular case. We find that it is rather unusual for the applicant to come to court saying she didn't have the opportunity, as their brief says, or ever the notice, as their brief says, of these actions, when she had been on notice of them, and further on notice, clear and obvious notice, that the accused was trying to charge his fee and attorney's fees to the city. Now, I think the burden at that point would shift, okay? When are we shifting? December or September of 2014. I think the burden really shifts here, in my opinion, when she has notice of the claims. I think at that point she can make a decision. I hope you will take into consideration what I had to say, and please think about my client, Your Honor. Thank you very much. Okay, so we'll shift over to Awaken the Giant Within. This is on Change Your Limiting Beliefs. Ready? If you raise your standards but don't really believe you can meet them, you've already sabotaged yourself. You won't even try. You'll be lacking that sense of certainty that allows you to tap the deepest capacity that's within you, even as you read this. Our beliefs are like unquestioned commands telling us how things are, what's possible and what's impossible, what we can and cannot do. They shape every action, every thought, and every feeling that we experience. As a result, changing our belief systems is central to making any real and lasting change in our lives. We must develop a sense of certainty that we can and will meet the new standards before we actually do it. Without taking control of your belief systems, you can raise your standards as you like, but you'll never be able to have the conviction to back them up. How much do you think Gandhi would have accomplished had he not believed with every fiber of his being in the power of nonviolent opposition? It was the congruence of his beliefs which gave him access to his inner resources and enabled him to meet the challenges which would have swayed a less committed man. Empowering beliefs, the sense of certainty, is the force behind any great success throughout history. Step 3, change your strategy. In order to keep your commitment, you need the best strategies for achieving results. One of my core beliefs is that if you set a higher standard and you can get yourself to believe, then you certainly can figure out the strategies. You simply will find a way. Ultimately, that is what this whole book is about. It shows you strategies for getting the job done, and I'll tell you now that the best strategy in almost any case is to find a role model, someone who's already getting the results you want, and then tap into their knowledge. Learn what they are doing, what their core beliefs are, and how they think. Not only will this make you more effective, it will also save you a huge amount of time because you won't have to reinvent the wheel. You can fine-tune it, reshape it, and perhaps even make it better. You see, in life, lots of people know what to do, but few people actually do what they know. Knowing is not enough. You must take real action. Now, the following are the 5 mastery areas of life that I believe impact us the most. Number 1, emotional mastery. Mastering this lesson alone will take you most of the way toward mastering the other 4. Think about it. Why do you want to lose weight? Is it just to have less fat on your body? Or is it because of the way you think you'd feel if you freed yourself of those unwanted pounds, giving you yourself more energy and vitality, making yourself feel more attractive to others, and boosting your self-confidence and self-esteem to the stratosphere? Virtually everything we do is to change the way we feel, yet most of us have little or no training in how to do this quickly and effectively. It's amazing how often we use the intelligence at our command to work ourselves into unresourceful emotional states, forgetting about the multitude of innate talents each of us already possess. Too many of us leave ourselves at the mercy of outside events over which we may have no control, failing to take charge of our emotions over which we all have control, and relying instead on short-term quick fixes. How else can we explain the fact that while less than 5% of the world's population lives in the United States, we consume more than 50% of the world's cocaine, or that our national defense budget, which currently runs in the billions, is equaled by what we spend on alcohol consumption, or that 15 million Americans are diagnosed every year as clinically depressed, and more than $500 million worth of prescriptions are written for the antidepressant drug Prozac. Number 2, physical mastery. Is it worth it to have everything you've ever dreamed of, yet not have the physical health to be able to enjoy it? Do you wake up every morning feeling energized, powerful, and ready to take on the new day? Or do you wake up feeling as tired as the night before, riddled with aches and pains and resentful at having to start all over again? Will your current lifestyle make you a statistic? 1 of every 2 Americans dies of coronary disease. 1 of 3 dies of cancer. To borrow a phrase from the 17th century physician Thomas Moffat, we are digging our graves with our teeth as we cram our bodies with high-fat, nutritionally empty foods, poison our systems with cigarettes, alcohol, and drugs, and sit passively in front of our TV sets. The second master lesson will help you to take control of your physical health so that you not only look good, but you feel good and know that you are in control of your life in a body that radiates vitality and allows you to accomplish your outcomes. Number 3, relationship mastery. Other than mastering your own emotions and physical health, there is nothing I can think of that is more important than learning to master your relationships, romantic, family, business, and social. After all, who wants to learn, grow, and become successful and happy all by themselves? The third master lesson in this book will reveal the secrets to enable you to create quality relationships, first within yourself, then with others. You will begin by discovering what you value most highly, what your expectations are, the rules by which you play the game of life, and how it all relates to the other players. Then, as you achieve mastery of this all-important skill, you will learn how to connect with people at the deepest level and be rewarded with something we all want to experience, a sense of contribution, of knowing that we have made a difference in other people's lives. I found that for me, the greatest resource is a relationship because it opens the door to every resource I need. Number 4, financial mastery. By the time they reach the age of 65, most Americans are either dead broke or dead. That's hardly what most people envision for themselves as they look ahead to the golden age of retirement, yet without the conviction that you deserve financial well-being, backed up by a workable game plan. How can you turn your treasured scenario into reality? Because we have the good fortune to live in a capitalist society, each of us has the capability to carry out our dreams. Yet most of us experience financial pressure on an ongoing basis, and we fantasize that having more money would relieve that pressure. The key is not the mere pursuit of wealth, but changing your beliefs and attitudes about it So you see it as a means of contribution, not the end all and be all for happiness. Number 5, time mastery. Masterpieces take time. How many of us really know how to use it? I'm not talking about time management. I'm talking about actually taking time and distorting it, manipulating it so that it becomes your ally rather than your enemy. The 5th master lesson in this book will teach you how to short-term evaluations that can lead to long-term pain. You will learn how to make a real decision and how to manage your desire for instantaneous gratification, thus allowing your ideas and your creations, even your own potential, the time to reach full fruition. Now, I'm not sharing these lessons with you to say that I have all of the answers or that my life has been a perfect ride or a smooth ride. I've certainly had my share of challenging times, but through it all, I have managed to learn, persist, and continually succeed throughout the years. We will be reviewing some of the fundamentals since repetition is the mother of skill. Therefore, I hope this will be the book you will read again and again, a book you will come back to and utilize as a tool to trigger yourself to find the answers. Grab hold of the things you think are useful and put them in action immediately. Okay, that concludes our literary and jury charge for the 225 class. Have a great day.